Hi, my name is Deb Helfrich, hashtag redheaded She-Hulk, and I'm the globe's original well-being philosopher. And this is a pitch to Mr. Aaron Alexander. I've just been streaming a couple of handfuls of your podcast, from Dispenza to Aubrey to you. We have the full context. And that's an important little container, because I'm actually wondering, we can have a chat about some strategic collaborations. You keep helping gorgeous people look a little more gorgeouser. Or you can dive into somebody who has enacted like the most cool midlife metamorphosis ever. I lost 150 pounds in the 15 months after turning 50 using being supernatural. I just did it with the power of my fascia. So here's a well-being philosophy, Zen Nietzschean cone for you. The fascia of the body is the ether of the universe. Literally, well-being philosophy is to synthesize all this stuff, and I love all the ways you pull in things and quote people and such. But as a philosopher, I like to just get down into the nitty-gritty of premises and logic, and I don't make it like icky like the old white men did. I make it kind of cool, such that life-centric thinking is all we need. Now we need, as like a whole quorum of the 7.8 billion humans across the globe, pivoting from 1 + 1 = 2 thinking into life-centric thinking. 1 + 1 = 2, the linear thinking. I know you're all down on that. I know you're into just functional movement and getting rid of repetitive exercise and doing, the flow of life type of moving is something I did not know was so pleasurable until I managed to survive to 50. So I'm asking you, because I had to literally, again, you don't hear about midlife metamorphosis stories unless the person hits bedrock, right? I had to spend every cent I had to stay alive to get to this place. Now, COVID's happened, shut me in, right at the point when I'm going, light bulb. How come I reached 333 pounds and stayed there from infancy until 50? This sort of multiplicity of insulation, Michelin woman-like levels. There's a number of intertwined childhood neglect situations, and neglect is big. Like this is where I come out. Everyone's about their trauma, and trauma are circumstances. But I think I'm recognizing in you, through the discussion with your mom, emotional neglect is not just sort of being in a place where you got to experience, open, present emotioning. I grew up in Ohio. The Tiki Torch White, says Dave Chappelle, my comedy cellmate. Might say. So Aaron, I'm kind of asking you to help me go from this stage, 75% done, 150 pounds, I got it the last 50, that we want to basically, help me become a one-woman show person who can start getting a Dave Chappelle kind of paycheck. That's the hashtag redheaded She-Hulk. And I need a body, an embodiment pro like yourself to bridge this grand canyon chasm between being absolutely unknown and looking a little bit like I'm going to remain that way, and taking this raw material and getting my biomechanics so that all of my bioelectricity flows. The real world, like imagine how your stock, and not in salience. If you and I can figure out a strategic collaboration where you can help me save my own life, right? What I did before the software consulting, I mean, my brain is so much more limber than that. But my body had no limberosity. And so the rigidity and the non-flexibility and all of the extra stuff, boy, the discussions we can have, I won't go too much off. What has happened is I've lost 150 pounds and not diet or exercise. Cannabis and tuning forks. Oh, you're gonna love the forks. It's certainly the case that pretty much so much of what we're getting wrong is because we don't consider the mind-body circuit. Like it's just a circuit. It's a positive and minus flow. Life force is bioelectricity, and everything has to flow. And the tuning forks are just medical musical tools that one can use to learn about how to actually move one's own brainwaves. It's 528 hertz. But I also have these two cool weighted forks, which are not so much about the sound. They create vibration. You can probably see them moving a little bit. And this specific hertz that I have here creates a binaural beat of 7.83, which means I'm literally able, with no, coal burning electricity production, my own hands, a lot of this, generate electricity, generate bioelectricity, and generate the Schumann resonance right here on my ears, so I can be in theta brain state. Watch this little section a couple times. You will actually see my full body energy shift down. Coolness, huh? Hashtag wellbeing philosophy. There's a lot here. I just like some friendship for a while, like to talk some of this through, do a podcast, introduce me, to some other people, like, bring some fresh blood into the Aubrey spear, right? Less phallocentric, right? Women can be biohackers too, y'all. And not just for Wim Hof, Ray Kranise, just name everybody. Cannabis and tuning forks. And then I did, of course, have to create a caloric gap of some sort. All fasting. Extreme fasting. Organic, cyclical, dynamic fasting. The first thing what is your schedule? And I'm like, that's about as dumb as having somebody hand you a diet and telling you what to eat. Cravings have meaning. I've heard you, I was just Tom Below's podcast, and you were talking about the whole situation of we squash kids, and this is a big one for me too. I mean, even with all of my being overweight, I didn't want to move, but I was kind of not fitting in them tiny desks. So even though I wanted to be still, and I was so bookish and so intelligent, childhood healing, somatic re-experiencing, Peter Levine's work, right? Big thing, right? This can come into sort of when the body worker and the philosopher really do a circuit of body, mind, plus, minus. So, thinking my big first grade thing was the teacher had read to us for a while. And there was a big thing to go back to the back of the room in the table, sit around, and it was going to be the first time that we, as a kids, got to read. She, I guess, had to prepare us for that. I'm like, I'm prepared, but okay. We get back there, and I sat, and I remember sitting, right to her right, and who's going to be first, and nobody else even volunteered or anything. So I was like, yeah, no, Deb, go. I finished, and you know what she said? Thanks, Deb. We'll never need you to read ever again. Something like that. I don't know. This is, so let's go back into what happened. That I got that response was not bad. It ended up traumatizing me. But what I did was I read the whole freaking Spot Run, the whole book. I think maybe she wanted people to read a page or maybe a sentence. Right? This is the first time. I've been reading for years. I remember, so I was excited. Okay, we're going to get to read out loud, because I remember when we got the reading book in first grade. I remember these. I flipped through all of the titles, right, in the table of contents, and I found the biggest word in like chapter 18. It's helicopter. I was like, got a book with some words I don't know. How are you going to teach? I need new words. If I can read the biggest words you got for me in this job. So yeah, so quite literally, and in the most like okay, Deb, you won't get to read ever again way. And she probably did try to stop me, but I probably just didn't even, I don't. Well, here I am, 12 minutes of just talking to you off the top of my head. This is not my lived experience. That little thing sent me into quiet, completely unknown person, which ended up when I became 333 pounds. And then I got a toxic mold exposure. All sort of the plan of unfolding, because if I hadn't, I'm still trying to work through it, right? Again, what's come up is, grew up in Ohio. My parents built our house. The basement flooded a lot in my infancy. So I had a mold exposure, and then I moved to the Pacific Northwest in a moldy apartment, and I don't think I would have gotten free of obesity if it hadn't been for the mold that made me hibernate. Couldn't do anything. So I just start okay, let's take all the knowns from all this biohacking and let's unpack how it doesn't work, how it doesn't make sense, how it doesn't integrate and synthesize. So I have a theory of everything. Again, the fascia, actually. The fascia. So I think we've got a great strategic partnership, because I'm not hearing anybody talk about the fact that spirituality, let's go into the Aubreyverse, and into the Dispenza-verse, right? If again, he's got this sort of Kundalini, just laying that completely right out for us, how to learn the Kundalini awakening yourself. And impressive results, right? So the Dispenza, it's all this kind of miracles occurring and whatnot. But as simple as it seems and as operational as it seems, right? And it's like this way that I read, and I basically needed to never learn to sound out words. I just go, and words made sense to me because I was a reader. The fascia and bioelectricity made sense to me because I had a Kundalini awakening. It came from figuring out how to use cannabis medicinally. Part of the mold was I had multiple chemical sensitivity. I think we'll align a lot on that. And I think that might be some childhood neglect, emotional not processing, that these chemicals just hijack everything. We really like the natural world. It's a sort of archetype. And it's really great how we would complement each other, because your journey took you into the looking good fitness side of dealing with that. And mine was always the being ostracized for how I looked. So really good complementary dynamics here of pulling that together and helping others talk across the sort of societal attraction barriers, and really open up into like the human experience is the human experience. The experiences vary, but sort of how devastating, sort of the wrong, getting a message from a first grade reading teacher that you'll never get to read again. And having her not have the emotional intelligence to you know, it's only been over the last few years that I really, that memory really made sense to me. It was always this like, whoa, I didn't struggle on any word. I mean, I think it did come across to me at some point that I read way too fast for everyone else to follow. Is why I didn't get to read. You know, my level of competency at reading was so far past what the first grade of the state of Ohio required. And I have the tests for that. Sometime very early in my standardized tests, I hit the 12th grade levels, reading, math, all those things. I guarantee by 6th grade. But I actually think I did hit what what the state of Ohio wanted me to perform at. I'm pretty certain I hit that in grade school. No, I graduated high school in 3 years. I went to Carnegie Mellon to get a degree in philosophy. Then the US of Hypocrisy took all that smarts and made it get locked into cubicle captivity, because I wasn't pretty enough for people to want to look at me and listen to me in the complexity of my sharing. So this is supposed to be a really quick thing. I'm going to get off of here. I can't believe I went on like this, because I did have some other things. Well, it's this thing. It's really this thing. As soon as I say the fascia is the ether of the universe, how can I not? How do I just act normal after that? I am 2021 she Socrates. And I'd like you to be a little bit of a Plato for me, right? Let's an embodied Plato. Anyway. You mentioned anhedonia, right? That's yeah. Okay, right. So here's the final things, right? I had anhedonia until 50. It's again, that's neglect. There's a lot of in healing trauma, right? And helping being a world evolver as the globe's original well-being philosopher. Neglect. But you don't know it as a kid. You don't know that you're not getting the signals of being cherished or taught lessons. Like we just as a society, just as a real generic one, like we use discipline and punishment to teach. And that just kids still don't know, well, how does that do it better? Just don't do it like that. But that kind of situation is what's caused all these adults to just be crazy unable to think. And it's this whole thing where everyone's obsessed with the people not wearing masks as though they're dumb. But wearing masks is really counterindicative. It's not stop things, and it won't stop things. And we got a populace that really won't take the vaccine. We'll get nowhere near herd immunity off of, unless we start making it illegal not to get vaccinated, and we are going to go down that path. The world has just gotten really complex, and somebody needs to teach the world clear, anti-racist, life-centric thinking about human potential and making that a necessary global public good. That's why I'm looking to meet people like you, get on some podcasts, find a patron to create the Wellbeing Philosophy Institute to raise the level of thinking across the globe. I'm looking to have a lot of novel conversations that just don't exist yet. That's why I'm being overlooked. That's why, again, the neglect of not being able to read after one try and all these kinds of things. There's some things that are deep patterns in both my posture, my body, and in working with you, like making sure my biomechanics are optimized as I lose this last poundage. And having a chance to maybe build a collaborative relationship with you where we can have some of these deep talks, and then you could catch me Quasimodoing up, because I'm certain I've done it, because this all happened so early in my life. And then so few people really looked at me to give me any reflection of these patterns. I really need some help. And I got a lot of potential. And again, this is the iceberg of Deb Helfrich's career. The tip of the iceberg is #redheaded She-Hulk. I want to be a one-woman improv Socratic monologuist doing this kind of thing here. Then well-being philosophy, this is what I settled down to do in my later years, is really talk about the theory of everything that bioelectricity proves. In essence, E=mc². Explains, has to, human energy also, right? Einstein was like, "Oh, Deb." He's giving me standing ovation, because, it's like we act like humans, like we're different than everything else on Earth. And we will get a lot healthier when we seed ourselves. We have to secede from the old mechanistic thinking where everything is 1 + 1 = 2. We have to move into the mouth of life. 1 + 1 = 3. It's my world-class IP. 1 + 1 = 3. The mouth of life. It is so foundational. It is so Ram Dass for your ass. It takes me 9 words to explain the math of life. Valid 100%. 100% agreed upon scenario happening across the globe every day, where we can say, yep, 1 + 1 = 3 in that swim lane of life. 1 man + 1 woman = a third baby. Reproduction. Reproduction is the intelligence of evolution. Wellbeing philosophy is applying the principle, one principle, evolutionary logic, emerges life-centric thinking. We need one principle. First, do no harm to any nugget of life. We start circulating these ideas across the world, and we all become world evolvers. So this is me out, 25 minutes. Pretty damn good, actually. All right, be well, Aaron. Holler at me. debhalfresh@gmail.com. Let's get a Zoom. Zoom in as quickly as possible. I'm looking forward. Now, I'll end with this. Bold, fearless, like, coming at you, stranger, as though I'm your BFF. I am an elder savant. Part of what's happened is losing all this weight, all this energies went to my brain. And I have this extraordinarily new capacity to funnel my memories into these monologues. And again, the principles of functional movement, of dynamic, of doing it in your life as things are happening, not just exercises, this isolated thing, right? Just sitting around the table with a bunch of people reading a book, but creating stories. And we're all about the storytelling now, are we not, as a culture? We gotten stories kind of mechanistic because we're always wanting to polish what's happened in the past. And there's certainly use in that. But dynamically creating the future. This is the difference between the meditation and the monks and everything just saying that I as an individual can change everything. I can't change the fact that the quality of the air that we breathe has now got so much excess carbon that that's what multiple chemical sensitivity is all about. The global warming in our near-in environment. When our body tells us when we're hungry, thirsty, you don't think our body doesn't have a sensor to tell us when we have excess carbon monoxide in the air that we're going to breathe in the next 90 seconds? It most certainly does. The fact that, again, we've devolved our sense of smell as animals, it's happening because of all of this byproducts of industrialization, byproducts of combustion, the scent, all these things. So much disease is caused by that. And I mean, that's where this lingering thing is. In the COVID shutdown, not getting out and losing my ecstatic trance dancing Sundays. And I was doing some contact improv, getting that touch. And I planned on going out to the jazz club and finding some suitors on my birthday, which was right in the COVID area. So, locked in alone by myself at the precise moment when my body was ready to blossom into contact. Just been ramifications. And so I'll leave you with this. I think that there's this incredible opportunity to create, a video series or maybe a podcast, channel of its own about you and I having complete, crazy, creatively future-based conversations where we do some trauma healing, we bring up those memories that need to get shared. And then I think we're both optimized enough to help each other port that into now what should be happening. Now you've got that expression and you've got this lack and this, and how do we now move that forward? One of the things I'd love to do is find somebody who's comfortable enough to go out in public with me, say Venice Beach. Do energy. Do you do energy, Earl? Do you feel into the flutters of all this? I think it would be a fascinating thing. Or maybe, get a big, tour bus that's not being used by any of the, concerts and just do outside ecstatic trance dancing. Fields. Coolness, huh? Like bringing the movement back to the people. Getting me some exposure so I can make my book Placebo Power to the People. Again, tuning forks are like do-it-yourself massage tools. And they get deep in the fascia. The vibration is how come I've gotten so far so fast. I mean, utilizing 200 pounds worth of onboard extra nutrition, it takes as many months as it takes. I'm a 50-year-old woman who beats her whole life. Look at what's going on here. Imagine what happens over the next 50 pounds. Help me do that, like, for everyone across the globe who's in their 50s or higher, or who's in a completely non-optimized, chronic, unwell state, who's come to realize, like, adaptation in the viral times requires getting optimally, not just physically fit, mentally fit. The body worker and the philosopher. I think we can have some fun. I think we can create some, like, what sort of partnership is out there, right? Of that's about setting this beautiful goal for me and really going. I'm not following anyone else's advice. I mean, anyone else's full-scale program. I'm dynamically taking a Wim Hof breath here, a Joe Dispenza meditation there, a Ray Cronized potato hack over here, 18 days of potatoes. Cold plunging, cold stress, all these. I like the masculine stuff. I don't like the Fitbits and the mechanical monitoring and the electrical equipment. That's interferes. So when we get more deeper into the fascia and the bioelectricity theory, and talk a great deal about that. So I've hit a pippin. I will love to hear your thoughts on this.